Hey guys, welcome back to Control Room. This is Marston. So in this video, I'm going to teach you all you need to know about keyframes if you're starting out in Davinci Resolve. So without wasting time, let's get into it. Now on the timeline, I have some footage. This is just footage of a lady dancing. I downloaded it from Pexels, link in the description as usual. So the lady is showing off her moves. So basically, first and foremost, what is a keyframe? A keyframe just refers to an instance in a sequence, right, where some sort of change happens. For example, in this particular clip right here, let's say I want maybe at this point to zoom in to the clip such that I'll be able to see maybe her hands, right? So what I do is that I make sure that the playhead is on a particular frame, like this frame. And then I'll come, for instance, if I want to zoom in, I'll come here where it says zoom. And right on the right side, you can see there's this diamond shape here. All these diamond shapes. What this basically means is that anything with a diamond shape can be animated. That's the basics. Anything with a diamond shape can be animated. So I'm going to click on this keyframe, right, to indicate where I want to start my zooming in. So what that means is that if I come, I'm not sure if you notice, but okay, let me just delete that keyframe. I want you to pay particular attention to this part of the clip here. When I click this zoom in button, just like this, you can see that we have these new settings that are here. And if you can see closely, you see that this also resembles a keyframe, right? So let me just click on that. If I click on that and just move the playhead a bit, you can see that at this particular point here, a keyframe has been created. That means to start the animation, right? So let me just bring my cursor back to that point, and let me just play this a bit. Maybe up to here, I should have zoomed into her face, right? So I'll come here where it says zoom and just click and drag it, right? And drag it to the right. Now I can shift this. I can come and use this this position. If you get this position settings here, just click and drag to the left to position the lady on the center, right? I can also, if I don't want to maybe play around with that position, I can just simply use the anchor point. For example, this Y anchor point, I just click it to the right and still achieve the same effect, right? Because I don't want to create another keyframe. So there are only two keyframes at the moment, right? The one that indicates the starting of the zooming in, and the one that indicates the ending of the zooming in. So let me just play that back and see what happens. As you can see, we have created two keyframes. The first keyframe indicating the starting of the zooming in, and the last keyframe, the zooming out. So that is how we work with keyframes. But there's a lot more that we can do with these keyframes, right? For instance, if you look here right next to this keyframe 2, you can I can just click on that, and let me just drag this up so that you see what happens. So let me just unclick it and click it. Now what happens here is that when we made the, let me just drag this so that this can fit, all right, so that we can also see the viewer. Right, now this line here, let me just click on it. If I click on it, as you can see, it is highlighting to me that this has to do with a zooming on the Y axis, right? This is what this line symbolizes. Now if I come to let's say the first keyframe, you see that there are a few things that we can do with it. For example, let me just highlight this keyframe by just clicking on it. As you can see here, let me just right click on the keyframe. If I right click, you can see that there are two options here. Linear, which is ticked. So far it's just linear, which means there is no modification to the movement of zooming in that we have. And the other option is out. So in this instance, I want to come and click on ease out. If I click on ease out, you can see that this first effect here is an ease out. Now the transition between the two keyframes is slanted, right? It is created sort of like an S, right? What that means is that now, okay, let me just play that back to show you what the effect is like now. As you can see, there was like a bit of exaggeration on the movement, right? So between linear and ease out, basically what's happening is that it is changing the behavior of the movement itself, right? Now, if you see that when we highlighted this keyframe, there's also this handle that was created as well. Now, this one, we can click and zoom it to the left or to the right or to the top or whichever way you want to affect the movement. For example, let me just drag it to the top like this and play that back and see what sort of effect that we get there. So let me just play that back. As you can see, the zooming in was very fast, right? In some instances, maybe you might want it to be very slow. For us to do that, let me just bring this back. For us to do that, we can click and drag it maybe somewhere down here. You'll notice that it will take its time to zoom, but then eventually it will zoom into the position, right? Now we can also come to the second keyframe. Like I said, just click, highlight it. Let me just drag this playhead here. Click and highlight it. Right click, you can see the linear option is there, but there's also an easy in option. So let's just click on that. As you can see, now there's an S sort of shape that has been created. Let's see what sort of movement this can create. As you can see, the movement was different. So if you're working, if you work with animation, you know about how we deal with the S sort of curve when we are animating, right? This is basically the same thing. As you can see, the handle also has been created here on the second keyframe. Let me just drag this and put it here. We can click as well and drag it, click, and drag it maybe to the right, the left, whichever way you want, depending on the sort of motion that you're expecting on you zooming in. So let's just play that back. As you can see, the movement has changed. So that's part of the things that you can do with keyframes, right? For example, let's say we want to rotate our image from this point here. We can just come here where it says rotation angle, add a keyframe, and maybe by the time it gets to this point, let's say, I'm just dragging it to the right. As you can see, already there's this angle here that is pointing to the left. That is indicating that we have a keyframe on the left side that we've added on the rotation angle. So this is what this means, right? Let me just click on it, and then maybe let me just type in here 360 degrees, right? So if I come here and just play that back, as you can see, our video rotates 360 degrees anti-clockwise. All right, so if I come once again to the clip and just click on this keyframe symbol here, you can see that all the keyframes have been added here. Now, what's unique about it is that if I click on a particular keyframe, it should tell me which keyframe I'm working with. Now, we know that these last two keyframes are the rotation keyframes that we created. So let me just come and click on one, and right here on the right side here, I can click and drop this down so that we can see what we're working with. As you can see, once I've highlighted, the rotation angle is showing that it is highlighted. If I click on the zoom keyframes, you can see that they are the ones that have been highlighted. And if I click on the zoom on the x-axis, you can see those are the ones that have been highlighted. Now, what's when we're working with keyframes, what we can do sometimes, you notice that maybe your effect is taking longer or it's slower. What we can do is simply highlight the keyframes. We can highlight the keyframes and click and move them. We can even move them closer to each other to increase the space or the duration of the effect, like here. As you can see, it's quicker. Or we can even move them apart, highlight them, click and drag them maybe to the right, so that the effect, it takes a longer time. And now you're seeing that even as it's doing that, it's also affecting the other two keyframes here that are here. So the keyframe that is closer to the playhead is the one that will take effect, especially in this instance. So that is what you do when you're working with keyframes. We can also untick this and click this these graphs. As you can see, now we have two graphs. The one that is dealing with the rotation, we can simply come to it, and as you can see, if you look at my mouse cursor here, it's saying rotation angle, meaning it's highlighting that this line has to do with the rotation angle. If we click on it, you can see that those keyframes will come into focus. And once again, you can come to each keyframe, right click on it, right? Simply highlight it, right click on it. As you can see, you can choose to ease out, and right click on this one, or ease in, right? So we've created the S shape that we've been talking about. Let's just play that back. As you can see, the effect is now smoother. There are also these handles that you can use as well to affect the motion, right? Okay, now you can also add keyframes right here from the graph editor here, right? For instance, let's say we want maybe the rotation angle to change, right? We can come here where this keyframe is, just click on it. As you can see, a keyframe has been added. Now we can click and drag this down. We're doing what we did in reverse, directly from the keyframe editor here, from the graph editor. So let's just play that back. As you can see, you can do a lot of things when we're working with keyframes. You can also work with keyframes, particularly if you're using audio as well. Let me just untick this and play the audio here. Let me just lower the volume a bit, right? Now let me just highlight this. As you can see, once I highlighted the audio, we've been taken to the audio tab here. Now let's say at this point here, at this point, I want to maybe the volume, I want to decrease the volume. I can simply come under the volume here, click on it, right, and play that back again, and maybe drag the volume to reduce it, right, and maybe play that back again. I will have to click it again, just like I've just told you right now, and then move and then bring the volume back up like that, right? So as you can see, everything that I did there, keyframes were created, right? As you can see, even with the audio, you can also ease in and ease out as well. So keyframes were created. If you want to see the keyframes, you can just come, click here. This is the graph editor for the audio. You can drag things around as well to also maybe increase or decrease the duration of the effect. So let me just play that back and show you what the effect is done. So you can add as many keyframes as you want directly from the graph editor. Like here, I can add another keyframe. Add another keyframe, maybe reduce the volume at this stage. You can pretty much do anything you want with keyframes. So that we don't make this video very long, I'm just going to leave it here. If you have any questions regarding keyframing in Davinci Resolve, leave them down below. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.